Good evening. We're going to get started. Buenas tardes a todos. Vamos a comenzar. Bienvenidos al Foro de Candidatos para Concejal en General. La Coalición de Desarrollo Comunitario, mejor conocida como el North Shore CDC, y la Asociación de Vecinos del Punto, la Liga de Mujeres Votantes de Salem, el Instituto Berry de Política de la Universidad Salem State y la Coalición de Liderazgo Latino han planeado este foro. The North Shore CDC, the Point Neighborhood Association, the League of Women Voters of Salem, the Berry Institute of Politics at Salem State University, and the Latino Leadership Coalition have planned this forum. La interpretación en español durante el foro estará a cargo de Heidi Benoit y Alexandra Fortich. Spanish interpretation during the forum will be provided by Heidi Benoit and Alexandra Fortich. Tenga en cuenta que Ana Anuncio, expresidente de la Coalición de Liderazgo Latino y miembro del Comité Directiva de la Liga de Votantes de Mujeres Votantes de Salem, sugirió la idea de un foro español e inglés hace 2 años y nos complace ofrecerlos esta noche. Ana Anuncio, former president of the Latino Leadership Coalition and steering committee member of the League of Women Voters, suggested the idea for a Spanish-English forum 2 years ago, and we are pleased to offer that tonight. Nos da mucho gusto que Elzabel Rincón modere el foro de esta noche. Elzabel fundó la red de bienvenida a los inmigrantes, WIN, por sus siglas en inglés, aquí en Salem, para proporcionar un lugar central de bienvenida donde los nuevos inmigrantes en la costa norte puedan obtener respuestas a sus preguntas, orientarse e integrarse en sus nuevas comunidades y recibir asesoramiento financiero y profesional. We are pleased that Elzabel Rincón will moderate the forum tonight. Elzabel founded the Welcome Immigrant Network, WIN, here in Salem to provide a central welcoming place where new immigrants on the North Shore can get questions answered, get oriented and integrated into their new communities, and receive financial and career coaching. So I welcome Elzabel Rincón to the stage. Le doy la bienvenida a Elzabel Rincón a la tarima. Gracias.
Gracias. See? Is this good? It's working good. All right. Bienvenidos al Foro de Candidatos Municipal. Los 6 candidatos aquí esta noche que estarán en la boleta electoral el día de elección noviembre 7. Nuestros candidatos de esta noche aparecen en orden alfabética. Kyle Davis, que todavía no ha llegado. Domingo Domínguez. Ty Hopworth. Alice Merkel, Conrad Prosniewski, thank you, and Felipe Zamborlini. So bienvenidos al foro. Oh wait, did I just speak in Spanish? It's so late. Okay, so I'll do that in English. All right. Welcome to the Spanish at Large Candidate Forum. The 6 candidates here this evening will be on the ballot on Election Day, November 7th. Our candidates tonight, in alphabetical order, are, as I just read the names, and you can see them here. I will not repeat them. Para nuestros miembros, especialmente inmigrantes, nacido fuera de aquí, la ciudad tiene 11 concejales, 7 de los cuales son por distrito o vecindario y 4 que son a nivel municipal de la ciudad. So, este año tenemos la oportunidad de votar por 4 de los candidatos a nivel municipal. So especially for our folks who might have not grown up here and who might need a little reminder on the structure of our municipal government, there are 11 councilors that serve for the city, that are elected for the city, 7 ward councilors and 4 at-large councilors, right? And this year we have the opportunity, or Salem residents, citizens have the opportunity to vote for 4 at-large councilors. So a little bit of housekeeping, un poquito de mantenimiento de cómo vamos a proceder por el resto de la noche. Le pedimos a los miembros de la audiencia que por favor pongan sus celulares en silencio para no interrumpir la conversación que vamos a tener esta noche. También por favor mantener silencio durante el foro para que todos puedan escuchar la respuesta de los candidatos. No hacer bullas y por favor aplaudir o esperar aplaudir hasta el final del foro, no después de cada candidato. So we ask members of the audience to silence your cell phones. Please also keep quiet during the forum so that everyone can hear the candidates. No cheers or jeers, please. And please hold your applause until the end of the forum. Okay, even if you can answer really a lot. Otras notas. Estas preguntas fueron obtenidas por residentes del vecindario. Los organizadores del foro han colectado estas preguntas, las han editado para ajustar lo largo de la pregunta y su claridad para ser más breve y más clara. Y la Liga de Mujeres Votantes de Salem es copatrocinadora, este grupo de este foro, y los candidatos se les fueron dadas las preguntas y se les va a dar la oportunidad de contestarlas sobre su enfoque y ideas hacia la ciudad. No van a debatirse el uno al otro, no van a entrar en discusión el uno con el otro, simplemente a contestar las preguntas. Va a haber una declaración de apertura de cada candidato esta noche y después le vamos a presentar las preguntas preparadas. Cada candidato tendrá 90 segundos para responder. No va a haber una declaración de cierre en la noche. Y los candidatos pueden responder a las preguntas, ya sea en inglés o en español, y nuestras intérpretes las van a traducir en el otro idioma para que todos podamos darle seguimiento a los puntos que están trayendo enfrente nuestros candidatos. So, the questions were obtained from residents of this neighborhood. The forum organizers collected the questions and edited them for length and clarity. The League of Women Voters co-sponsored the forums, and the candidates are given the questions and the opportunity to answer about their approach or ideas. They will not engage with one another and will not debate one another. There will be an opening statement from each candidate this evening. Then I will ask the prepared questions, and each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond. There will be no closing statement at the end of the night. The candidates may respond to the questions either in English or in Spanish, and the interpreters will translate the responses into the other language so that we can all follow the points that are being made. All right, so as a reminder, I ask that you please hold your applause to the end of the forum. So, como recordatorio, por favor, guarden sus aplausos para el final del foro, al final de la noche. So, vamos a comenzar con las declaraciones de apertura de cada candidato por orden alfabética. Cada uno va a tener 90 segundos para dar su declaración. Y por favor, aborde la siguiente información en su declaración de apertura. ¿Qué le llevó a postularse para concejal de la ciudad? Y por favor, describa una meta que usted tiene para trabajar como concejal si es elegido. All right, so we will start with the opening statements from each candidate in alphabetical order. You will each have 90 seconds. Please address this information in your opening statement. What led you to run for at-large city councilor? And please describe one goal you have for your work as a councilor if you are elected. So we will start with Domingo Domínguez, con Domingo Domínguez en orden alfabética, 90 segundos, 90 seconds.
Hola, ¿me escuchan? ¿Se oye? Muy bien. Muy buenas noches a todos. Quiero comenzar agradeciendo a la Liga de Mujeres Votantes de Salem, la Coalición de Liderazgo Latino, la Asociación de Vecinos del Punto, al Instituto Berry de Salem State University y a Salem Academy por permitirnos estar aquí, pero sobre todo a ustedes, los que están acá y los que están viendo a través del SATV. Quiero que todos sepan que mi viaje desde la República Dominicana hacia los Estados Unidos en el 1984 ha sido una experiencia maravillosa. He podido entender que este país de oportunidades, si se trabaja duro, si se siguen las reglas y las leyes de este país, las experiencias y los beneficios son innumerables. Con la ayuda de mi familia y de mi gente y mis amigos, he podido alcanzar muchas metas. Criar mi familia. Estoy corriendo porque quiero devolver a Salem y darle para atrás de lo que he recibido. He podido educar a mi familia aquí y he podido también crecer. Y sobre todo, he tenido el honor de representar a la ciudad de Salem por 3 términos. Muchas gracias y espero que esta conversación sea muy amigable para todos.
So, and thank you. Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. And thank you to the Institute Berry, the Women's League voting. I came to United States in 1964. The experience has been marvelous since I've been here. I know for sure that being in this country, if you work hard, follow the rules, and you can have a lot of benefits. I was able to grow in this country, educate my family, educate myself, and the reason I am running for council at large is to give back to the community of Salem, and it's an honor to be serving the community of Salem for 30 years.
We're having technical difficulties. Our tech guy is coming around. I already saw the signal, so we'll get back on in a minute. In the meantime, you can give Ty Hopper the opportunity to answer the questions. Vamos a darle la oportunidad a Ty de contestar la pregunta.
Thank you. Thank you. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters, the Latino Leadership Coalition, North Shore CDC, Point Neighborhood Association, Salem State. Just appreciate everything you all do. I was just talking to someone recently about people are just starting now to pay attention, to figure out who the candidates are. Things are very, very busy in the summer. Things are busy in October. And the League of Women Voters specifically, and all these organizations do so much to keep everybody engaged and to know who the candidates are. My name is Ty Hapworth. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I am a Army veteran. In the last 4 years, I've been one of your four counselors at large. The reason I ran 4 years ago, service matters to me, and I think it matters to my family. It's after 9/11, I joined the Army to give back. Coming to Salem, I saw a lot of change happening very, very rapidly. Some of it great, some of it maybe not so great for some people. It depends on who you talk to, and I think that looking at the rapid pace of that change and wanting to guide that in a positive direction that makes sense for all folks in Salem. And Vanna White's holding up the 30 seconds over here for me. So I think one thing that really matters to me is housing. That's my number one priority right now. The ability of someone to keep a house, to keep a roof over their heads right now. It impacts every level of this community, from our unhoused neighbors all the way up to folks who are just trying to struggle to keep a roof over their head, to our businesses that are trying to hire folks. It is impacting us all over the place, and it's something we need to take action on.
We're still working out the technical difficulties, so we'll be sharing a mic for a minute. Thank you. So, la traducción.
Gracias a la coalición de liderazgo latino y a la directiva de Liga de Mujeres Votantes. Y gracias por tener, he visto que todas las personas están tomando más atención en lo que es la elecciones. Y el octubre ha sido un poco ocupado y sé que estamos todos involucrados. Mi nombre es Ty Hypern y soy padre, esposo. Serví en el Army hace 4 años. serví en el Army y hace 4 años estoy aquí porque el servicio es muy importante. Después del 9/11 me uní al Army y estoy buscando para hacer cambio y mejorar cosas. Lo que me importa o los asuntos que me importan más es la vivienda, me importa mucho, que las personas puedan tener donde vivir, que tengan un techo sobre su cabeza, incluyendo a que los negocios también puedan tener empleadores aquí locales.
Thank you. All right. And now, Alice Merkel.
Buenas noches y bienvenidos. Gracias por teneros y a todos por venir. Me llamo Alice Merkel y les pido su voto para la reelección de concejal general aquí en Salem. Ha sido un honor servir como su concejal de la ciudad mientras continúo mi trabajo voluntario en nuestras comunidades de Salem. Yo soy voluntaria en Salem Pantry y Mac Park Food Farm para garantizar que todos tengan acceso a la comida sana. Y atiendo regularmente las reuniones de la Asociación de Vecinos del Punto. Y gracias por su paciencia. Está aprendiendo español y yo necesito la práctica. Y otra vez les pido por su voto en 7 de noviembre. Gracias. My name is Alice Merkel. Welcome to you all tonight, and I am running to continue my service to the community.
Please. No, in English. Oh, in English, yes. She spoke Spanish. Okay, no, I know.
Okay, so thank you everybody for being here. So I ask for your vote on November 7. For November 7 for Council at Large. It has been an honor to be here in Salem while I volunteer at the pantry to make sure that families have access to healthy food. I also attend meetings for the Association of Neighbors en El Punto. And thanks all of you for your patience. I'm learning Spanish, so thank you very much. I need to practice. And as I said, please vote. I ask for your vote on November 7th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the interpretation. Okay, and next candidate, Conrad.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to all the people that organized this tonight, and I know there's a long list of them, and we only have a few seconds. But most of all, I want to thank all the volunteers and all the people that came out to actually put this together, which a lot of you are sitting out here. So my hat's off to you for giving your time to the city. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Conrad Presnewski. I'm 69 years old, and I've been a member of the City Council now for 4 years. I was born and raised in Salem. My parents were immigrants. I grew up in a bilingual home and was raised through Salem schools. And fortunately, when I was 23 years old, I happened to join the ranks of the Salem Police Department, where I spent 41 years working for the city. I retired as a captain. I actually retired as the assistant chief in 2017. And I spent 41 years helping the Salem people be safe and happy in this city. My most enjoyable time was I spent 10 years in the point, in uniform, amongst our immigrant population, learning the culture, trying to learn the language, not as good as Alice did, but I learned a little bit. I really enjoyed being part of a community that, like my immigrant parents, were acclimating to the American way of life. I know this city. I know the neighborhoods, the culture. Most of all, I know what it takes to help make this city safe. This city, your city, a better place to live.
Thank you, Mr. Conrad. Your
Thank you.
time is up. Thank you. All right, we now will hear the translation.
Gracias a todo lo que pusieron este evento, especialmente a los voluntarios. Sé que muchos están aquí ahora. Mi nombre es Conrad Prasnewski, tengo 69 años y he sido miembro del concejal por los últimos 4 años. Nací, crecí aquí en Salem, mis padres son inmigrantes. Me crecí en un hogar bilingüe. A los 23 años trabajé para la policía de Salem y ahí duré 41 años. Me retiré como capitán y asistente al director. Pasé más de 10 años trabajando en el punto, aprendiendo de la cultura y el lenguaje, no tan bien como Alice. Y ahora, me interesa y aprendí de la cultura y cómo hacer, y quiero hacer Salem un mejor lugar para vivir.
Thank you. All right. Thank you to the technical assistants. I think we're all set with mics at this point. Thank you. So ya, gracias a la asistencia técnica, ya estamos servidos con los micrófonos. Dios mío, van a necesitar un trago después de esto. All right. So now we are going to hear from Felipe. Vamos a escuchar de Felipe.
Buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es Felipe Zamborlini. Aunque yo hablo un poco de español, no es perfecto, entonces mi respuesta va a ser en inglés porque no quiero perder nadie para ustedes. My name is Felipe Zamborlini. I am proud to be a Salem resident of Salem, and my wife and I moved here in 2018 when we were looking for an affordable community to live in a place that was welcoming and inclusive. And we found that here. I immediately got involved as part of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board. Housing is a priority of mine for sure. And I know through my work here in the city that affordability is a big issue, that a lot of people are struggling today to stay and to be able to find their own community. Imagine a Salem where everybody can afford their home, find the resources that they need, and be able to thrive in this welcoming and amazing community. I believe we can be that community for all of us. I believe in a city for all. I have already done a lot of work in the city on the policy level, helping the council move things forward. And I think it is time for me to step up because there's a lot of work to do and I am ready to do it. I'll be the only candidate in this race that brings a combination of lived experience and policy. I've lived through poverty. I've lived through hunger. I've lived through housing insecurity and displacement. But I've also got over 10 years experience doing policy work at the federal, state, and local level right here in Salem. And I will bring those skills together as councilor to make sure that I'm working to move forward policies that are progressive and that will get Salem to be even more affordable, more welcoming, and more inclusive than we are today.
Thank you, Felipe. Thank you. Chris, could you advise? Are we going to translate? Yes. We are going to translate.
Buenas noches, soy un residente orgulloso de Salem. Me mudé a la ciudad de Salem en el 2018. Buscábamos una comunidad inclusiva y que nos diera mejor bienvenida y eso fue lo que encontramos en esta ciudad. Dicho eso, una de mis políticas y prioridad es dar hogar a todas las personas de Salem. Imagínense una comunidad que pueda ser exitosa, donde todos puedan tener un lugar donde vivir. Ese es el trabajo que quiero hacer. No solo traigo los 10 años de experiencia en este tipo de políticas, sino también la experiencia de haber crecido en diferentes entornos. Así es que quiero como prioridad traer a la ciudad, moverla hacia adelante y que sea una ciudad aún más inclusiva, aún más con ánimos de dar la bienvenida a todos.
Okay, gracias, thank you. Y queremos darle la bienvenida al candidato Kyle Davis, que acaba de llegar, para que pueda dar su declaración de apertura. So we want to welcome candidate Kyle Davis, who's just arrived. And the question is the opportunity for an opening statement where we ask each candidate to address the following information in 90 seconds. What led you to run for at-large city councilor? And please describe one goal you have for your work as a councilor if you are elected. So la misma pregunta para el candidato.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. Apologize if I'm a little out of breath, did some running to get here at the time that I did. I felt compelled to run for city councilor because I believe that we need different types of people, perspectives, and lived experiences at every level of government, including local. As a renter on Canal Street, I'd be the only renter on the council if elected. I come from an amazing blended family, ethnically diverse family with 2 moms, and grew up as a gay man. As a waiter, I've been the victim of wage theft and understand personally the struggle for workers' rights. And I've always channeled the challenges that I've faced outwards onto helping people through my advocacy, and volunteer work and activism. I'm very excited to have the opportunity to bring that to the city council and have the opportunity to bring my lived experiences to the important conversations that we have in that body and fight to make sure that we have a more equal and thriving Salem for everyone, including our most marginalized communities. Thank you. Oh, and one priority, my top priority would absolutely be affordable housing. Like I said, I'd be the only renter on the council if elected, and I want to make sure that we protect the natural affordable units that we have and protect renters, as well as make sure that we're able to build more affordable units, mandate that, and make sure that we're allowing for it as well.
All right, thank you. And now the translation, la traducción.
Gracias y disculpe que estoy un poco falta de aire, pero fue que vine corriendo para estar aquí. Pero creo que yo tengo algo un poco diferente. He vivido aquí en Salem. Soy una persona que renta, creo que soy el único que en realidad rento en la calle Canal. Y también mi hogar es de 2 madres. Soy un hombre homosexual. También soy mesero. Y mi trabajo, quiero ayudar mucho con la abogacía, también en trabajo voluntario. Quiero traer lo que he experimentado, lo que he vivido, y quiero luchar para las personas que han sido marginadas. Y también una de las cosas que quiero trabajar es en la vivienda que sea accesible para todos y también para proteger a los inquilinos.
Okay, gracias. Thank you. All right. So, hemos ya practicado la regla de los 90 segundos. ¿Se escucha? Okay. Hemos conocido un poquito de los candidatos. So, ahora nos vamos a poner un poquito más estricto y a los 90 segundos ya se acabó el tiempo de verdad. So, vamos a lanzar a las preguntas. So, we've heard a little bit about each of the candidates. We've practiced the 90-second rule. So, you will be stopped exactly at 90 seconds. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude. I'm following orders, so estoy siguiendo órdenes. So vamos a comenzar con la primera pregunta. We'll be starting with question 1. And we are going to move down alphabetically for each question so that each candidate has an opportunity to start first, and it's not always the same candidate. So this next question is going to start with Ty, please. So vamos a seguir en orden alfabética, pero nos vamos a ir moviendo en la mesa para que los candidatos tengan la oportunidad de contestar, diferentes candidatos tengan la oportunidad de contestar la pregunta primero. So vamos a comenzar con Ty. Ok, entonces la primera pregunta es, ¿qué haría usted para aumentar el acceso a las viviendas asequibles para las familias de bajo ingreso, las personas mayores y los individuos sin hogares? What would you do to increase access to affordable housing for low-income families, seniors, and homeless individuals?
Thank you. So I think that this has been my number one issue on the city council. So I think some of the things that we have done is we've passed an affordable ADU ordinance to allow people to create naturally occurring affordable units in their buildings. We're working on inclusionary zoning to force developers to contribute a higher percentage of units towards affordability at deeper rates. We are also working on a condo conversion ordinance as a city council to protect renters' rights and just to slow down. We are bleeding rental units right now as a community, and it's been happening for some time now. When you look at the numbers, it's shocking. So slowing down that that trickle or that flood that we've had through a condo conversion ordinance is important. Also, we need to look at just zoning in general within this community. The deck right now is stacked against affordable housing builders and folks and smaller scale developers, and it is stacked in favor of some of our larger developers who have access to lawyers. So simplifying our zoning code to work through that, I think, is important. And then also just looking at things like parking minimums for affordable housing units. I think those are important. And then another big thing that we've done as a community recently is just investing in housing stability services. There are a lot of rights to renters that renters are not aware of. And as a community, we've made a big effort to make people aware of those rights, to have open office hours with housing lawyers, and to have a housing stability coordinator in City Hall, which I think is very, very important for folks.
Thank you. And now we'll allow time for translation, traducción.
Gracias. Mi prioridad, eso es algo que hemos estado trabajando como la prioridad número 1 en el concejal. Estamos trabajando para bajar el porcentaje de unidades o que haya más unidades que sea más accesible. Estamos también trabajando en la ordenancia de conversión de condominio, la forma en general de la zonificación y también simplificar diferentes ordenanzas. Otra cosa también es la inversión en la vivienda estable y tener una persona que se encargue de la estabilidad de vivienda en City Hall.
Thank you. And now we will hear from candidate Alice Merkel.
Thank you. Yes, the affordable housing crisis has been devastating here in Salem. As was referenced, it's really imperative we implement the housing production plan, which had included the ADUs, the inclusionary zoning that will be coming into the council that will help ensure that developments always include affordable housing in proposals. And we need to support organizations that are creating affordable housing like the North Shore CDC. We need to do everything we can to support these efforts. They recently opened a completed development that had 46 affordable units, and they received over 3,000 applications for those units. The need is great, and it's important overall that to recognize that we have a crisis and we need solutions, not barriers. And as Councillor Hepworth had said, zoning is one of those barriers, amongst others. So yes, this is an absolute priority. And supporting renters, we have half renters. In the point, it's 80% renters. So protecting renters, the condo conversion ordinance that will assist renters that are facing displacement. All these are critical steps we need to take. Thank you.
Sí, la crisis de hogares en Salem es realmente devastadora. Es bastante importante que tengamos esto en el plan, sobre todo tener zonas de inclusión. En el desarrollo también tenemos que hablar acerca de que estas casas, estos nuevos desarrollos de hogar incluyan casas que las personas sean capaces de pagar o que puedan pagar. Recientemente en uno de los edificios teníamos 47 unidades, 300 aplicaciones, lo cual indica que hay una gran necesidad, sobre todo en la parte de la zonificación. Así es que tenemos que definitivamente proteger a los arrendatarios y asegurarnos de que sus derechos sean también cumplidos. Pero definitivamente es una crisis que necesitamos abordar.
Thank you. Candidate Konrad Przniewski. Can you say your last name one more time?
Przniewski, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Development right now in Salem is for the affordability percentages at 10%. In other words, developers have to build 10% of their developments affordably. I'm in favor of trying to raise that limit, 15, 20%, trying to get development into this city at a better rate for the people to be able to afford it, people who live here to be able to afford it. We're the victims of our own success. Salem is a very desirable city to live in. Everybody wants to come to Salem, and therefore, because we're the victims of our own success, our own prices have gone up and affordability has gone down. We have to be able to find a happy medium. But right now, we are all sitting on the biggest project, right now physically. The Shetland Park is the biggest project that's going to impact the affordability of this area. What happens here, where we're sitting here today, is going to have a ripple effect completely in this whole neighborhood. We have to keep our eyes on what happens here and hold the people that bought this place and developed this place to be able to have it for the affordability. Thank you.
Actualmente el desarrollo de tener la vivienda accesible es un 10%. Yo quisiera tratar de subirlo un 15 a un 20%. O sea que una persona que quiera hacer vivienda tiene que tener un 15 o un 20% de vivienda accesible. Hay muchas personas que no lo pueden, que no pueden pagar eso, pero Salem también es una ciudad que es muy agradable y muy deseable. Los precios han subido y lamentablemente la persona no puede. La accesibilidad ha bajado. Una cosa que tenemos que estar muy pendiente es lo que está pasando en Shetland Park. Tenemos que estar muy pendiente de qué va a ser o qué va a pasar ahí, qué ellos están haciendo, porque eso va a determinar el futuro, eso va a ser una determinación muy grande en el futuro de aquí de Salem. Así que tenemos que estar pendientes qué es lo que Shetland Park va a hacer ahí.
Gracias. Thank you. And now, candidate Felipe Zamborlini.
Thank you. I believe housing is a human right, so I think we start with that philosophy. From there, I think it is important for us to recognize how affordable housing is built in America today. Density is the only thing that produces affordability. Nonprofits cannot be the reliant that we have to build all of affordable housing. It takes 10 to 20 different sources of funding for any of these projects to kick through, and they are always been delayed. And when we talk about affordability, we cannot just build only affordable housing. We need to build housing for everyone, for folks who really need it at the 30%, folks who are experiencing homelessness, for folks who are middle class and want to be able to live here and afford as well. So when we're building, we really need to look at our zoning laws, where we start there. We are way too low density. We actually used to be more dense as a city before most of our single family districts came up, because more people were concentrated in our downtown areas. I would want to look seriously into our density questions to make sure that the city can build multifamily housing throughout this entire city by right. And I would also want to look more into mixed use. We cannot have just housing or just business. We have to have both. And I would be a strong promoter of programs that the state already has to offer, including TIF, which is the tax incentive program that recently was passed for a project in downtown. Promote more of that. We need to increase our density because there is no other way to get affordability. We cannot get out of this housing crisis by building 2 stories and 3 stories. We have to do more.
Sí, empiezo con la filosofía de que poder pagar el hogar donde vives hace parte de tus derechos humanos, y es que hablando desde allí sabemos que la densidad es lo que va a permitir también de que existan estos hogares que pueda toda la comunidad pagar, y no solo para aquellos que tienen menos o que eso, pero para todo el mundo, para la comunidad de clase media, de clase alta, y también incentivar no solo casas, sino también negocios, que podamos promover esto en la ciudad de Salem para que haya más densidad y que al final entonces esto pueda proveer casas que las personas puedan también pagar.
Gracias. Thank you. And now, candidate Kyle Davis.
Thank you. Like I said, I would be incredibly excited to bring representation to the 50% of the city renters that currently have none. I wasn't able to afford to live in Salem for a very long time, despite working here. And now that I have been able to find a place that I can afford, I'm still very cost burdened, as are many people. So I think it's important that we have people on the council that understand that hardship. If you work in Salem, you should be able to afford to live in Salem. We need affordable options on every income level. That's why I support a tiered inclusionary zoning ordinance. I agree that we need to re-examine our zoning to make multifamilies possible to build citywide. I support the condo conversion ordinance. I think that we need a reasonable rent stabilization policy to prevent eviction by price gouging. Right now, there's nothing in place to stop a landlord from raising rents 200% over the course of a year. The bottom line is that I think that housing is a human right, and I'm ready to be a voice for renters, for cost-burden people, for unhoused people, working-class people, and families. One more thing that I think that we need is to join the growing list of cities that have enacted right to counsel for tenants to end the asymmetry of representation in the courtroom. Thank you so much.
Quiero representar en el concilio un 50% de lo que representa a Salem, que son las personas que alquilan. Yo por fin pude conseguir un sitio que podía pagar en Salem después que tenía tiempo trabajando aquí, así que entiendo toda la dificultad que es poder trabajar y vivir en Salem. Yo estoy de acuerdo en la ordenancia en escalón y también tenemos que examinar la zonificación y también acerca de la estabilización de renta. Actualmente un dueño de vivienda puede subir la renta sin tener ningún tipo, o sea, puede subir la renta a la cantidad que sea hasta un 200%. Creo que la vivienda es un derecho humano y que todas las personas de la clase que trabajan tienen el derecho a tener vivienda y también derecho a tener representación legal.
Gracias. Y candidato Domingo Domínguez.
Gracias por la pregunta. Es una pregunta de mucho interés y creo que todos aquí estamos de acuerdo en que housing es uno de los temas que debemos enfocarnos todos. Yo trataría de seguir soportando y apoyando todas las iniciativas que tienen que ver con el aumento de viviendas asequibles. Creo que en los últimos años hemos visto muchas construcciones y pocas de ellas realmente son asequibles. Yo quisiera ver o explorar la posibilidad de que el gobierno, el sector privado y los demás componentes de la comunidad se junten para crear viviendas como tenemos en Pico Highland, Salem Heights, Loring Tower y otros, ya que eso provee ayuda no solamente a personas de bajos ingresos, pero también a seniors y a los veteranos. De manera que nosotros debemos de seguir impulsando todo lo que sean las posibilidades de que esas viviendas sean creadas. Nosotros también tenemos que enfocarnos en lo que ya parte de los compañeros míos han hablado, pero fundamentalmente en lo que es el median income que representa realmente para las personas de bajos ingresos. Mayormente el median income que se toma de aquí es el parecido en Boston y Cambridge. Yo creo que esa fórmula tiene que cambiar para que nosotros podamos realmente darle accesibilidad a las personas de bajos ingresos que viven en nuestra comunidad. Si nosotros logramos eso, vamos a encontrar muchas salidas. Gracias.
Gracias, candidato.
Yes, I do think it's a very important topic to talk about. We know that we have to concentrate on that and increase the affordable housing. A lot of constructions have been happening, but not a lot of affordable housing. I wish a lot of part of the cities can also unite so they can leverage that help that we do for the community. And also one thing that I think we need to pay attention is to the median income. I know that we use the same formula as other communities, but I think we need to rethink that so we can represent exactly what Salem community is in terms of the median income.
Thank you. All right. We are going to move on to question 2 now. And we are going to start with candidate Alice Merkel. Do you feel our public safety personnel, police and firefighters, are adequately funded and staffed to face the challenges of the population increase expected with the new housing developments? If not, what are your ideas to increase funding? Entonces vamos a la pregunta 2, comenzando con la candidata Alice Merkel. ¿Siente usted que nuestro personal de seguridad pública, o sea, los policías y bomberos, están adecuadamente financiados y con el personal adecuado para enfrentar los desafíos del aumento de la población esperado con los nuevos desarrollos de vivienda? Si no, ¿cuáles son sus ideas para aumentar esos fondos?
Thank you. Can I ask you to repeat the question, if that's allowed?
Of course.
Thank you.
Do you feel our public safety personnel, police and firefighters, are adequately funded and staffed to face the challenges of the population increase expected with new housing developments? If not, what are your ideas to increase funding?
Thank you. I think that's a great question, but because the public safety is a great concern. And I think also another component of that, not only increase in number of residents, is the increase in tourists. And also this October, I observe a lot more visitors during the week, along with weekends. So I think that is definitely a heavy lift in keeping our community safe. I think what's important is to communicate with the Salem Police Department and the Fire Department to see if they feel we are giving them the resources and the staffing that they need. I know the Salem Police for a while had some vacancies, which was challenging, but they have recently filled those positions, which the chief had said had been helpful. Also, I think I know a lot of the resources for the Salem Police Department are going to the Community Impact Unit with the increase of our unhoused folks here that they are working hard to assist. The work that I respect, they spend weeks and months building relationships and trust and working to provide options for that. So yes, I think regular communication to see if we are meeting the needs, financially, so they have the staffing and the resources they need to assist our residents and keep our streets and community safe.
Thank you, Alice. We will now allow for translation. Ahora vamos a traducir.
Buena pregunta. Creo que lo que tenemos que hacer es, creo que la seguridad pública es algo muy importante. Ha habido un aumento en el número de residentes y de turistas que están visitando. Lo que tenemos que hacer es comunicar con la policía y los bomberos a ver si le estamos dando los recursos que ellos necesitan. Sé que no hace mucho la policía tenía bastante vacante, pero según tengo entendido ya lo han llenado. Sé también que muchos de esos recursos han estado para la unidad de impacto comunitario y ellos han durado semanas y meses para proveer y trabajar con la comunidad y tener esa confianza. Pero lo que tenemos que hacer es regularmente comunicarnos para ver si tiene suficiente personal, si tiene suficiente ingreso para lo que necesiten.
Gracias. Thank you. And now we will hear from candidate Konrad Przniewski.
Thank you. I
Was
love
that
this
better?
question.
My pronunciation, was that better?
Thank you. That was good. Can everybody hear me? I love this question. I don't know who brought it up, but this is right up my alley. So, because I can speak from a voice of experience. It's not the funding that's the challenge. It's being able to. The challenge is for the leaders of the police and the fire department to adapt to the changes in the city and the culture. Salem has gone through extreme changes over the last years. There's been an explosion of businesses and housing up in the Highland Avenue area. Just a lot of difference in demographics, commercial properties, residential properties. the big challenge isn't the funding. The big challenge is how to use the funding wisely, to use it for today's culture, to use it wisely for today. Yes, we've developed a community impact unit to try to deal with a lot of the community issues. We've developed, we've moved people around, school resource officers. There are police officers working in areas that never existed before in the past. The fire department, they've taken on a role to assist in a lot of the medical aids. They're shifting. So it isn't a matter of giving them more money. It's a matter of using that money wisely to adapt to how Salem is changing. And I think a lot of the important parts of that comes from you folks and giving your ideas and your input as to how the police should be using that money wisely, and the fire department. Thank you.
Sí, me encanta esta pregunta. Puedo hablar por experiencia acerca de esto, y creo que no necesariamente es simplemente los fondos, sino también la habilidad que tiene el Departamento de Policía y de los bomberos de adaptarse a los cambios y a la nueva cultura de la ciudad de Salem. Ha habido una gran explosión en la avenida Highland de negocios y viviendas de diferentes culturas, y cómo podemos usar entonces estos fondos de una manera más creativa para poder ajustarnos a la sociedad que es Salem en estos momentos. Y esto realmente viene de ustedes, de cómo pueden dar ideas y cómo podemos utilizar estos fondos para esta sociedad cambiante que tenemos en la ciudad.
Thank you. And now, candidate Felipe.
This is actually not a public safety question. It's a municipal finance question. The more you build, the more tax revenue you get from it. Whether you build commercial or residential or industrial, it all depends on the tax rate that you're looking at. So we are going to be adding more revenue to the city as we grow as a city. Now, then the question does become, how do you reallocate those funds in order to make sure that our schools are properly funded, which is not a prerogative of the council, but I would be strongly supportive of making sure that we're first putting those funds to education and job training. And how do we actually then allocate those resources to public safety as well? So that is really what this question is really getting at. We're not short on cash to be able to support our public services and support our police and firefighter departments. They're requesting the money that they require through the budget process in the mayor's office. But if we had more growth, we'd be looking at additional funding sources to be able to better provide services throughout the whole city. So I think especially when we consider what type of growth we're looking at, this is where I would love to be able to see more mixed use, as we are seeing across in downtown and Highland Ave and potentially even on Boston Street, considerations for mixed use, so that we can have a combination of businesses and residential tax base to be able to actually properly fund the needs that our city residents need today and tomorrow. Because we can't just plan for yesterday based on what we used to look like. We can't just plan for today. We have to plan for our future.
Esta pregunta en realidad lo que tiene que ver es con la finanza municipal. Con el aumento de personas que viven, hay un aumento de ingreso, o sea, de ingreso para la ciudad. Y eso, lo que podemos hablar es cómo esos fondos se van a ser usados. Primeramente para la escuela, también entrenamiento de trabajo. No es que la ciudad o que le atamos falta de dinero para la policía o los bomberos, sino que cuál es el servicio que podemos proveer para la ciudad completa. O sea, cuál es la base de los impuestos que podemos usar, y lo que tenemos que concentrarnos es cómo vamos a hacer en el futuro y qué necesita el futuro de Salem.
Gracias, thank you. Y ahora escuchamos del candidato Kyle Davis.
I'll echo a lot of what has already been said in my conversations with police and fire, particularly police. The feeling is, and also watching budget meetings, the feeling is that, for a while there were, positions that need to be filled, and now those concerns aren't there anymore. So I don't think it's much of a concern of the resources that we have for that. And as Felipe said, this is something that will benefit from growth, actually. So that's not a concern. I think that's an opportunity. I also would caution against overspending when it comes to police. I think that we need to broaden our understanding of what breeds public safety. Public safety isn't just a man with a badge and a weapon. It's also about better public schools. It's about increased social services. It's about job training. It's about fighting against income inequality. Those are things that breed long-term stability and safety. So I think that there's a lot of the ways that we could actually take responsibilities out of the police in a way that would make us more safe. I think traffic cameras are a tool that we should really be using, and some other ideas as well. Thank you so much.
Okay. Sí, he estado en conversaciones, varias conversaciones y reuniones con policías y bomberos, y el sentimiento general es no tanto una preocupación de los recursos, es tener la oportunidad también. Yo no estoy de acuerdo en sobregastar también en los recursos para estos servicios, porque sabemos que la seguridad pública puede lucir no solo ser un policía, pero puede lucir de muchas otras formas, como por ejemplo capacitación de trabajo, mejores escuelas, estabilidad. Si es que hay muchas formas en que podemos abordar esta temática. Gracias.
Thank you. Y ahora del candidato Domingo Domínguez.
Pienso que la respuesta a esta pregunta ya se ha dado en diferentes ángulos, pero yo quisiera resaltar que en una ciudad de 44,000 habitantes aproximadamente que somos, creo que nuestra policía y bomberos están haciendo un trabajo extraordinario en el liderato de nuestro jefe de policía, Lucas Miller, que está haciendo un trabajo excepcional, juntamente con también los bomberos. Yo es de mucho agrado para toda la ciudad. Sabemos que ya ellos han llenado las necesidades en cuanto a las diversidades que se requerían en el momento y continúan trabajando para tratar de lograr que haya una comunicación con la comunidad, no solamente a nivel de celebraciones, sino también a nivel de las necesidades básicas que representa la seguridad pública, porque antes no teníamos ninguna persona que representaba a la comunidad latina, que es la mayor, una de las segundas de las mayoritarias. En un momento de crisis no había cómo comunicar, pero ya podemos contar con policías de descendencia latinas, además bomberos. Así que yo creo y estoy de acuerdo en que los recursos se están manejando y creo que falta más todavía y tenemos que continuar trabajando en esa misma línea. De manera clara, yo creo que la respuesta, vuelvo y repito, creo que se ha dado. Quiero aprovechar que creo que soy el único que está hablando en español, aunque suena un poquito diferente, pero esa es la lengua que nos identifica y creo que este tipo de evento debe seguirse impulsando para que más de nosotros participemos y podamos escuchar. En lo que es la seguridad pública es importantísimo la comunicación y por eso es importante que sigamos llenando esos escaños para que haya más personas de diferentes etnias que representen lo que somos aquí en la comunidad latina, en la comunidad de Salem. Gracias.
I think what we need to do is take this from a different angle. Currently, there's approximately 44,000 people residing in Salem, and the police and fire are doing an outstanding job. What we have to do is apologies. We need to fulfill the basic needs of what the safety is. One thing that we also need to work on is communication, and I think the police and fire have done an excellent job with that. We currently have a very good representation of Latinos in both departments, both the police and the fire, and communication is essential for the community. I'd like to point out that I am speaking in Spanish, and communication is very important for the safety of the city.
Thank you. All right. And now we will hear from candidate Ty Hapworth.
Thank you. I think that first, I just want to acknowledge that we are fortunate as a city council to have an incredible working relationship with both the Salem Fire Department and the Salem Police Department. Our police chief and our fire chief are both world class, and I absolutely mean that. We have incredible people in those two positions, and I feel very fortunate for that. Though I think he probably should have recused himself. Councilor Prosnewski, I'll echo what he said here. I think that he hit the nail on the head with the way that policing should happen and the fire department as well. That we need to be adaptable. I think that things like the community impact unit, and we've shown ourselves over the last 10, 20 years to be a very adaptable police department. Things like the community impact unit, mental health workers. There's a lot of issues that we sort of have our finger on the pulse of what's happening here locally in Salem, and then also what's happening nationally. We've done an incredible job as a community responding to those issues and being nimble, because we have to be with those kind of things. We can't just throw money and throw officers at problems. We need to sort of be smart and intelligent about how we do that. With that, we have things like climate change coming up. This is not what the question asked, but we do need to make investments in things like high water vehicles for rescue vehicles for our fire department, because we're unfortunately going to continue to run into those issues as we move forward. And I've asked the fire chief to start pricing that out and look at potentially investing in that in the next few years, and also looking at evacuation plans. There's a lot of things that as a community we need to be very agile and to think about when it comes to public safety. And it's not just policing. Thank you.
Sí, creo que es importante reconocer que tenemos una buena relación con la policía y los bomberos. Han hecho un trabajo maravilloso impactando a la comunidad, no solo teniendo el personal de policía y bomberos, sino también otro tipo de trabajadores como trabajadores de salud mental. Y esto es algo que está sucediendo no solo en la ciudad de Salem, sino también a nivel nacional. Pero hay muchas cosas que podemos mencionar, como podemos ver esta seguridad pública. Por ejemplo, algo que no está en la conversación en estos momentos, pero que deberíamos mencionar, es el cambio climático y cómo también quizás nuevos camiones para agua y de bomberos pueden ser traídos a esta ciudad como parte a abordar esa problemática mundial. Pero sí, muchas otras formas de ver la política y la seguridad pública en general.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates, interpreters. All right, so we will have one more question for tonight. This is the last question for tonight. So vamos a tener una pregunta más para esta noche. Esta va a ser la última pregunta. What are your expectations of the offshore wind project, including jobs, environmental impact, and a community benefits agreement? And for this question, we are going to start with candidate Conrad. So I will translate first. ¿Cuáles son sus expectativas para el proyecto de energía eólica marina, incluyendo trabajos, impacto ambiental y un acuerdo de beneficios para la comunidad?
Thank you. This is an exciting time for Salem. We're at the forefront of doing something right for our community in many ways. The wind project is something that's going to produce jobs in Salem. It's going to produce renewable energy in Salem. It's going to be clean energy, and we're going to be at the forefront of being able to put our foot forward and being part of that project. Salem City Council is a very environmentally astute council. We're keeping an eye on what climate change and things are going to be going on in Salem. And it's nice to see the support, not just from the council, but for the community, for the wind project. But with the wind project also comes what I don't think people realize is the ability to have our port become more accessible for commercial and private vessels. The docking space at the wind project is going to be rebuilt, and it's going to enable cruise ships to come. It's going to enable more passenger ships to come, private ships to come, and that's going to change the demographics on what's going on down in that area. I see a bright vision because of this project. The Derby Street area, Blaney Street, that connection all the way up to Pickering Wharf. I see good things for Salem coming because of this project, and I'm proud to support it. Thank you.
Creo que es un momento muy deslumbrante para Salem. El proyecto de eólico de viento es algo que es muy importante porque va a traer trabajo. También son proyectos que estamos trabajando en la energía reusable, energía limpia, y la ciudad y el concejal de Salem también somos muy afortunados que ellos apoyan esta iniciativa y están pendientes de lo que va a pasar. Este proyecto va a tener la habilidad de traer botes, o sea, cruceros, también barcos privados, o sea, que van a renovar el muelle y eso va a ayudar mucho y va a cambiar lo que es el área de Pickering Wharf, de Derby Street, y va a ser una visión muy buena y creo que esto va a ser algo muy bueno para la ciudad.
Thank you. Gracias. Candidate Felipe.
Thank you. So on jobs, this is a really great down payment, I think, on the future of our waterfront as a workplace development strategy to make sure that we are connecting our waterfront. Salem is a historic waterfront community, and yet it is nearly impossible for you to get to one point of the city to the other through our waterfront. I think we are missing an economic opportunity here, and this is a down payment on starting that work to really think thoroughly on it. I think on community benefits agreements, I think this is a possible example of maybe what not to do. It has to start from the beginning. We have to have community benefits agreements from the start on every single major project. We're standing on one right now that has to also have a major community benefits agreement. And as the city continues to think about what needs to happen, we always have to have a community benefits agreement on major projects in the city. And on the environment, it is also a major down payment. This is a process for us to start thinking about transitioning from a mixed grid of electricity that uses the renewable and non-renewables to a full grid that works only on renewable for the whole city. And I believe this project is indeed a down payment for us to continue those conversations on continuing to be in a green city that makes sure that we are reducing our carbon emissions. And this is essentially moving in the right direction to make sure that those conversations can be continued in a really strong and effective way.
Sí, definitivamente esto es un proyecto que no solo va a permitir que Salem continúe siendo o que continuemos trabajando en que Salem sea una ciudad un poco más verde, pero que también se utilicen toda esta energía reusable en toda la comunidad. Es realmente el futuro de Salem y considero de que el acuerdo de beneficios para la comunidad debe estar enfrente de cada uno de los proyectos que hacemos para la ciudad de Salem, en particular este proyecto que es tan importante para toda la comunidad.
Excuse me. Thank you. Candidate Kyle Davis.
Yeah. I think this is just such an exciting project for our community. Seeing a former coal-powered plant be replaced by an offshore wind terminal is just such an exciting sign of our progress. I'm excited by the jobs that will come and that Salem has had the opportunity to play such a large role in our region's energy transition. The climate crisis is the crisis of our lifetime, and as an environmental justice community, Salem is at the heart of that crisis. So in addition to this, I want to be a voice on the council that, pushes us to be more bold when it comes to really working with our dedicated partners like SAFE, CIRC, the Salem Sound Coastal Watch to protect every vulnerable community, including this one along the waterfront, and being really bold when it comes to decarbonizing our infrastructure and our buildings and providing great green alternatives to transportation. I think that really is our responsibility. So again, very excited about this. I know that it has been a bumpy ride when it comes to getting everything approved and onto the construction phase, but glad to see everything's on the right track now, and I think this will be great for our community.
Esto es un proyecto muy excitante porque imagínense que están convirtiendo una planta que era una planta que ahora va a ser para de viento. Esto va a traer mucho trabajo en la región. También Salem está en el centro de la crisis, para ayudar para la crisis climática. También vamos a estar trabajando, es muy importante que trabajemos con los proyectos y la comunidad. Y también estamos muy orgullosos de tener una alternativa verde para el transporte, y estoy muy contento de que creo que esto va a ser algo bueno para la ciudad de Salem.
Gracias. Y ahora el candidato Domingo Domínguez.
Muchas gracias. Pienso que este es un proyecto que nos pone a nosotros, la ciudad de Salem, en el mapa. Los beneficios que trae son innumerables, desde trabajos locales hasta el medio ambiente, que es muy importante. Pero creo que pudimos haber tenido un contrato mucho mejor que el que tenemos ahora, ya que dimos demasiado en cambio de quizá un poco menos. Yo pienso que las negociaciones debieron de hacerse un poquito más fuertes, de manera que quede mejor beneficio en la ciudad de Salem. Creo que también debemos de mirar muy detenidamente lo que va a ser el proceso para que los trabajos queden locales, para las personas locales, y que lo que se habló en el contrato se cumpla. Por ejemplo, hay una parte que me impactó mucho, que es el asunto de que ellos van a compartir con la escuela pública para crear carreras que tienen que ver con esa industria, de manera que nuestros hijos aprendan y puedan ser ellos los que participen como empleados. Yo pienso que esa parte es importantísima, aparte de la parte económica, ya que la Power Plan, la que tenemos ahí, ya se va. Sería una manera de traer recursos para ayudar a aliviar la situación económica de la ciudad de Salem. Creo que es importantísimo, creo que es un buen contrato, pero vuelvo y repito, creo que pudimos haber hecho mejor. Además, también las discusiones públicas no le dimos el énfasis necesario para que la comunidad completa se envuelva en algo tan importante. De manera que ya no podemos dar para atrás lo que tenemos que seguir. Gracias.
Domínguez.
Okay, I think this is a very important project that brings many benefits for the city. I do think that in terms of the negotiations, they could have been stronger in a sense that they could have been done better for the benefit of the community. I hope also that all the work that comes from this project stays in the city and stays in the community. I think it's very important that they fulfill the contract, and also they mentioned that they will create some careers and partner with the schools to create careers and professions so our kids can be educated and work eventually on those type of work. But I think it's a very important project, but as I said, I think we could have done better in the negotiation.
Thank you. Y ahora nuestro candidato Ty Hopworth.
Thank you. So I think with this community benefits agreement, and with any community benefits agreement, I've been very clear and very outspoken that it needs to start with the neighbors, and it needs to start with the neighborhoods. So it can't be an agreement that's crafted and then brought to the neighborhood associations for their up or down. It needs to have the neighbors at the table in that negotiation and in that conversation. I think that, obviously we want to get anything in writing that happens also, because I think folks remember what happened with Footprint, which was a great project, but also had its challenges. I think we are in a climate emergency right now. I love the offshore wind project that we have coming up here. We're going to be thanking ourselves for the next 99 years as a community for the part that we played in this climate emergency, putting Salem at the center of clean energy on the East Coast. Even just on the locally here, we're looking at potentially $6 million a year in revenue into our tax base, which is going to be huge. I mean, if you think about a comparison to that, $2 million is our annual growth that we get. This is tripling that, which is incredible. And then I guess just last, I just want to thank all of you for coming out here tonight, and appreciate you making the trek out here in October. It's never easy to get out here at this time of year. Just appreciate everyone's engagement, and have a great night.
Hi, thank you. Yes.
We're going to allow it for translation. I know. Estamos emocionados de escuchar respuestas.
Creo que el beneficio del comunitario es algo sumamente importante, y creo que los vecindarios y los vecinos deben estar involucrados y estar en la mesa desde un principio, para que tengan en cuenta, todo de las negociaciones. Creo que, que el offshore wind, el viento eólico, es el corazón aquí en Salem, y es un proyecto muy bueno. Y Salem está en el centro de la energía limpia. Eso se supone que va a traer aproximadamente 6 millones en impuesto anual para la ciudad. Actualmente solamente se trae 2 millones en impuestos. Y quiero también darle las gracias a toda la comunidad, a todos ustedes por estar aquí esta noche y por venir, porque sé que estamos en octubre y que hay mucho tráfico y le doy las gracias.
Thank you. And now, candidate Alice Merkel.
Thank you. Yes, I am also really excited about the offshore wind coming to Salem. And I was happy to support it. We had a TIF that the council approved to help move this project along a tax increment finance agreement. Yes, I have attended several meetings that they have had with neighborhood associations, and I've appreciated the conversations and the dialogue. And this is a long process. So we want to make sure that continues, that communication continues with the input, as was said, with our neighborhood associations, with organizations like SAFE, Salem Alliance for the Environment, to make sure we get a community benefits agreement in place that is that we see it through and that is truly beneficial. And for the jobs, I do think this is a great opportunity, particularly for youth. I'd like to see a collaborative effort, particularly in underserved communities. I'd like to see the North Shore CDC Youth Build be reached out to, the Salem High CTE program, Essex Tech. There's a lot of opportunity here for to have the job opportunities here really benefit our people in our community. Stop. Thank you. Thank you all again also for coming tonight. So appreciate it.
Thank you, Alice.
Sí,
Go ahead.
Sí, emocionada también acerca de este proyecto de energía eólica. Lo apoyamos desde un inicio y he atendido a muchas de las reuniones con asociaciones de vecinos. Queremos que este proceso es un proceso bastante largo, pero que continúe y que continúe también con las opiniones de la comunidad, como lo mencioné, con las asociaciones de vecinos que han estado participando. También me gustaría ver que esto sea de beneficio para los jóvenes y que se puedan asociar también con el SST, con las carreras técnicas de la escuela superior y que sea también de beneficios para ellos. Gracias. Y gracias a todos por venir.
Ok, gracias. Thank you. Queremos agradecer a cada uno de los candidatos presentes. We want to thank each and every one of you here tonight and each of the candidates present here tonight. Kyle Davis, Domingo Dominguez, Ty Hapworth, Alice Merkel, Conrad Przniewski, and Felipe Zamborlini. Muchas gracias. Thank you. Gracias por postularse para el cargo electo y para ofrecer sus ideas y perspectivas. Thank you for running for office and putting forward your ideas and perspectives. Es un trabajo bien difícil y demandante. It is a very demanding and difficult job. So thank you. Queremos también agradecer al North Shore CDC, the Point Neighborhood Association, o la Asociación de Vecinos del Punto, la Liga de Votantes de Mujeres de Salem, el Instituto Berry de Políticas de la Universidad Estatal de Salem, la Coalición de Liderazgo Latino, por planificar y ofrecer este foro. We also want to thank North Shore CDC, the Point Neighborhood Association, the League of Women Voters of Salem, the Berry Institute of Politics at Salem State University, and the Latino Leadership Coalition for planning and hosting this forum. We also want to thank our interpreters, Heidi Benoit and Alexandra Fordich. Queremos también agradecer a las intérpretes de esta noche, Heidi y Alexandra. It takes very specific and special skills to do interpreting, so thank you. Toma una habilidad bien específica y especial traducir. So, queremos agradecerles mucho su ayuda esta noche. También queremos agradecer al canal local de Salem por difundir y grabar este foro. Se les recuerda que la grabación de este foro va a estar disponible en el canal de SATV en un par de días. También lo pueden encontrar en el canal 22 de su cable local y en la página web de SATV, y en YouTube. So we want to also thank SATV for broadcasting and videotaping this forum. We want to let you know that this will be available for streaming by SATV within a few days. You can also find it on cable channel 22, which is the SATV government channel, or their website satvonline.org or on YouTube. Y finalmente agradecerles a ustedes, los residentes de Salem, por su gran compromiso cívico. And finally, thank you, Salem residents, for your civic engagement. Por favor, recuerden que para votar en las elecciones del martes 7 de noviembre, debe registrarse para votar para el 27 de octubre, viernes, y también pueden votar por correo o si va a estar fuera del país, también están esas boletas disponibles. Y recordarles que nuestros concejales a nivel municipal introducen, debaten y votan en las nuevas leyes, ayudan a nuestros residentes a conectarse a servicios y recursos, departamentos de la ciudad y representan a todos los residentes de la ciudad y son elegidos cada 2 años. So we wanted to remind you to vote on election day on Tuesday, November 7th. You can register to vote through Friday, October 27th, and absentee mail ballots are also available. And also to remind you that our at-large city councilors represent all residents in Salem and are elected every 2 years, and they introduce, debate, and vote on new laws and ordinances in the city, help residents by connecting them to resources and services and city departments. So please remember to vote. Por favor, acuérdense por votar. And thank you so much for coming tonight. Muchas gracias por venir esta noche. Enjoy the rest of your night. Que pasen buenas noches.